All right, let's get into it. For years, if you traveled in the US, you'd probably look at airports in other countries and feel just a little bit of envy, right? But something's been happening. Right now, there's this quiet revolution going on, a massive upgrade to America's mid-size airports, and believe me, it is changing the entire travel experience. For the longest time, this slide pretty much told the whole story. You had these incredible, jaw-dropping airports in places like Asia and Europe, and then you had us. The old US standard was, let's be honest, often aging, way too crowded, and just a headache to get through. It was something you had to put up with, not something you enjoyed. Well, that story is finally getting a rewrite.
So, to really appreciate what's happening now, we first have to talk about the problem. We've got to look at the good old 20th century terminal.
This right here, this just hits the nail on the head for what so many of us have felt. These terminals, they were built for a totally different world. You know, fewer people flying, completely different security, a whole other idea of what an airport should be. And what did that leave us with? These kind of sterile, uninspired buildings that just could not handle today's passenger numbers. It made the start of any trip way more stressful than it needed to be.
So, what lit the fire? What actually kicked off this huge wave of upgrades? Let's take a look at the real catalysts for change.
It really all comes down to money. For decades, any federal cash for airports went to what's called airside projects. You know, the runways, the taxiways, all the stuff the planes use. The terminals, where we spend all our time, were kind of left behind. But that all flipped in 2021. The bipartisan infrastructure bill unlocked billions of dollars aimed specifically at the passenger experience. And suddenly, the floodgates were open for this nationwide transformation.
And this is where it gets really cool, because you can see what that change actually looks like on the ground. We're going to spotlight 3 mid-size airports that have been completely reimagined, and each one took a really unique approach to making travel better.
First up, we're heading to the Pacific Northwest, to Portland International, or PDX. Their goal was way bigger than just building a new building. They wanted to create a space that felt like Portland.
They have this nickname for themselves, the localist airport. And this quote, it's not just a catchy slogan. It gets right to the heart of their entire philosophy. It's all about bringing the local culture, the local nature, and the local businesses right inside the airport walls.
And here's how they pulled it off. Just look at this focus on local identity. Almost all the shops are actual local Portland companies. And that incredible wavy wooden ceiling, that was made with wood sourced from local forests. You combine that with soaring ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows, and tons of plants, and the benefit for you, the passenger, is crystal clear. It doesn't feel like a generic box. It feels bright, open, and totally, authentically Portland. Okay, now let's hop across the country for a totally different kind of transformation. Over in Pittsburgh, the challenge was really unique. Their old terminal was amazing when it first opened, but it was built to be a massive hub for US Airways. The airport's job today is completely different. Now, to really get what Pittsburgh did, we gotta understand this one term, O&D. It stands for Origin and Destination. Basically, the old terminal was a giant maze designed for people connecting from one flight to another. But today, almost everyone flying through Pittsburgh is either starting their trip there or ending it there. So the new design is built from the ground up to make that process as simple as possible.
So, the whole point of this new design is making life easier for the local traveler. A brand new landside terminal, a whole lot more parking, and a straight shot through security and baggage claim. All of it means way less walking and waiting around. And get this, modern amenities like 4 outdoor terraces. I mean, how many US airports let you actually step outside for some fresh air before your flight? It's a game changer.
And for our last stop, let's look at a smaller airport that's growing like crazy, Myrtle Beach International. Their problem was a pretty simple one, but it was a big one. They were completely bursting at the seams.
And yeah, this one number tells you everything you need to know. A 50% increase in gates. We're talking going from 12 to 18. This wasn't just a little touch-up. It's a huge expansion to handle the flood of tourists heading to the beach.
So it was about more than just adding gates. The whole project zeroed in on comfort and modernization. A bigger concourse means you actually have room to breathe. And you know, simple things we take for granted, like bigger restrooms and places to actually charge your phone, they make a massive difference. And in the background, a new, smarter baggage system just makes the whole journey feel a lot smoother. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. We've looked at 3 different airports, but what's happening here is part of a much bigger story. We are entering a whole new era for flying in America.
This right here, This really nails the shift. We are leaving behind that old, sterile, clunky design of the last century. The new philosophy, the 21st century design, is all about creating terminals that are spacious, incredibly efficient, and built from the very beginning with the actual passenger's experience at the forefront.
You can almost think of it like a playbook for the modern airport. Step 1, you need more space and more gates to handle the crowds. Step 2, you have to streamline that security process. Step 3, you bring in advanced tech for things like baggage. And Step 4, the most important one, you wrap it all in a design that's focused on the passenger, on light, on comfort, and on having a sense of place.
And that's really the big takeaway. This isn't just about making one or two airports a little nicer. Sure, each of these projects is a huge deal for its own city, but when you look at them all together, they are raising the standard for the entire country and completely changing what it means to fly in the United States.
So as we see these incredible new terminals opening up all over, it leaves us with a pretty cool question to think about. As America's airports finally get their 21st century makeover, which of these new experiences, the local food, the outdoor spaces, or maybe just a journey that's fundamentally less stressful, which one are you most excited to see on your next trip?